Urban legends always begin the same way. A whispered warning, a cautionary tale, a rule you must follow without ever being allowed to ask why. Don't go into Blackwood Forest at night. Don't look into a mirror and call the name of a spirit. Don't stop to help the crying child on the side of Route 99. The Counting Man belongs to that category of legends. It doesn't spread through books or major articles. Instead, it is scattered in the form of digital fragments. Old messages on forgotten bulletin boards, lost blog posts, and anonymous confessions sent to paranormal forums. There is enough information to form a clear pattern, but never enough to give any definitive answers. The core rule of the Counting Man is astonishingly simple. If you are walking alone and you hear footsteps behind you perfectly matching the rhythm of your own, and then a voice begins to count, never turn around. That's it. That's the only warning you get. The voice always starts at 1. It is low, slow, seemingly deliberate, almost like a normal conversational voice. Each following night, it continues with a number higher than the night before. 2, 3, 4. The timing is always the same. After night falls, when you are completely alone, and the footsteps never break rhythm. They are perfectly synchronized with yours, as if glued right behind your back. For those followed by the Counting Man, only 2 outcomes are known. If you break the rule, if you turn around, it ends immediately. Since no accounts exist of anyone doing this and surviving, the worst is assumed. If you follow the rule, the counting continues. Each night, it climbs 1 step closer to 10. And this is the part no one can fully describe. There are no survivors or written accounts describing anything past the number 10. Whatever happens when the Counting Man finishes counting leaves no one behind to explain it. What remains for us are only fragments. Deleted posts from forgotten forums, police report notes, journal entries abandoned mid-sentence. All describe the same phenomenon, the same synchronized footsteps, the same low voice. When assembled, these fragments no longer look like folklore. They start to resemble case studies. One of the earliest online references to the Counting Man appeared in 2009 on a now defunct university forum archived on the Wayback Machine under the name the Moonlight Student Forum. A user named Decard42, a sophomore, 19 years old, posted in a humorous thread about pranks on campus. His first post seemed lighthearted and joking. Someone is messing with me. Last night, walking home from Royal Library, heard footsteps behind me. Thought it was a friend. Looked around, no one there. Then I swear to God, I heard a 1 whispered right into my ear. Funniest prank I've seen. Whoever's doing this, you got me. Other users teased him, saying it was just an echo or a security guard from Eastwood University, the school's new name playing games. The next night, he posted again. It happened again. Different path, different time. Footsteps right behind me, keeping pace. This time it said 2, same voice, same tone. I'm not joking. This isn't funny anymore. The responses grew harsher. People accused him of trolling, of running an alternate reality game, ARG. But Decard42's posts continued in a clear pattern. Each post a new number. 3 outside my dorm window this time. I didn't even leave the building. 4, I tried blasting music through headphones. Still heard it, louder. 5, I tried hiding. Useless. The thread grew long, over 60 replies, most mocking him, but a few grew uneasy as his tone shifted from playful to panicked. By 7, his posts were short, almost cut off. I can't sleep. Every time it comes, another number. It waits until I'm alone. Please tell me someone else has heard this. No one claimed they had. His final entry, dated October 14th, 2009, read, 9, right outside my door this time. I don't think I can take much more. And that's where the story ends. The account went silent. His email was locked. A roommate later posted that Decard42 abruptly withdrew and left Eastwood University, though no transfer record exists. Notably, IP logs from his account show he made the final post from inside his dorm room. Not on a street, not walking home, but alone at his desk. This suggests the counting man doesn't need you to be outside in the dark to follow you. Once it starts counting, it will go wherever you go. Cases like Decard 42s are often dismissed as stress-induced. Sleep-deprived college students walking home at night. The mind plays tricks when exhausted. Some psychologists argue it's a form of auditory pareidolia, the brain seeking patterns where none exist. The footsteps you think you heard, the whispered one that wasn't really there. But there's a problem with that explanation. The posts don't stand alone. If you dig deep enough, you'll find fragments of the same story scattered across obscure forums and forgotten threads. A Usenet post from the late 90s mentions a counting man. A survivalist message board warns not to let it reach 10. An early 2000s chain email describes perfectly synchronized footsteps night after night. The details line up too neatly to dismiss as coincidence. It is always the same pattern. Synchronized footsteps, a male voice counting one number each night. The rule is not to turn around, and there is complete silence after 10. Folklore doesn't usually persist across mediums like this. It cannot survive from forwarded emails to Reddit threads to Discord servers unless something is feeding it. And that is where the unease begins to creep in. Because if these stories are not random, if they are connected, it means the counting man is not just a legend, it is a phenomenon. Among the fragments of the story that have been found, one more personal and detailed document was discovered. It dates back to 2016, buried within a series of scanned notebook pages uploaded to an anonymous image board. The files were simply titled The Night Commuter's Journal. The handwriting belonged to a woman in her mid-30s who described herself as a night shift employee who regularly relied on late-night public bus routes to get home after midnight. This was a woman exhausted, familiar with empty streets and the loneliness of late commutes. The first entry in the journal was written when the count had already reached 5. This indicates the experience had been happening for nearly a week before she decided to document it. This has been happening for nearly a week. Always when I leave Sterling Office Park and when I walk to bus stop 408. The footsteps behind me, perfectly in sync. The voice counting. Last night was 4. Tonight is 5. I don't know what will happen when it reaches 10, but I'm starting to believe what people online say. She admitted to trying to test the rules, a natural reaction for anyone faced with a supernatural phenomenon. She shoved earbuds in to block outside sound, but the counting still pierced through. She walked different routes across the empty Midtown area, but the footsteps kept pace. She even stopped abruptly to see if the steps would pause. They always paused. Whenever she stood still, a dead silence fell over her, broken only by her own heavy breathing. When she resumed walking, the footsteps resumed instantly, matching her rhythm without fail. The perfect synchronization was far more terrifying than any random stray footfall. By 7, her tone shifted into a new, acute fear. Her handwriting on the page began to shake. It's closer now. I can feel its breath on my neck, but I won't turn around. I can't. I tried using the bus window as a mirror just to check. I thought maybe if I looked that way, it wouldn't count as turning around. It was a desperate calculation, an attempt to bypass the rules of a supernatural entity. She stared into the dark, reflective surface of the window as the bus stopped at Central Station. In the night's shadows, she saw her faint reflection. She searched for a silhouette, a male figure standing behind her seat. She saw nothing but the dim interior of the bus and her own terrified face. But then it happened. I don't know if it was a mistake. I saw my reflection mouth 7. My lips didn't move. That moment was likely the worst shock of her entire experience. It confirmed, horrifyingly, that the counting man was not just a shadow or a voice following her. It had entered her reflection, using her own image to continue its count. After that, her entries became frantic and panicked. She described covering the mirrors in her apartment with towels and bedsheets, refusing to look at the black screen of her phone when it powered off. She avoided any reflective surface that might reveal the dreadful presence clinging to her. But the reflections were not the true problem. The footsteps never stopped. Her final entry was dated February 3rd, 2016. By 9, the journal pages were filled with smudges and trembling handwriting, nearly illegible. She no longer tried to describe details, only fear. It's with me everywhere now, not just in the streets. In the break room at Sterling Office Park, in the stairwell, in the bus aisle. I hear it even when there isn't room for anyone to walk behind me. No one reacts. No one else hears it. I'm not safe anywhere. The scans end there. A strange detail was uncovered by users on the image board as they tried to verify her story. They cross-checked the bus routes she described with the city's public transit records. She stopped scanning her bus pass after that final day. There was no final ride recorded, no tap out from the system. She didn't just disappear from her home, she vanished on the bus. This raised a disturbing question. If turning around means death, and reaching 10 means vanishing without a trace, which fate is worse? It would be easy to assume the counting man is tied to a neighborhood, a city, a place you can avoid. But the documents disagree. Reports come from everywhere. Quiet suburbs, remote stretches of Highway 70. Location is not the issue. The issue is the person. Once the counting begins, it will follow you through neighborhoods, across state lines, even across oceans, if scattered posts on various forums are to be believed. The common thread is not where people hear it, but that they describe the same rules, the same footsteps, the same voice, suggesting the counting man is not a haunting, not a cursed road, not even a local legend. It is a phenomenon, mobile, persistent, and personal. And if it clings to a person rather than a place, running may not save you. It might only make things worse. Among the scattered documents about the counting man, one of the most frequently cited cases is a series of posts on a major online forum from 2014. The user went by the nickname Ground Level. Ground Level described his first nights just like any other victim. The footsteps, the voice, and the steady escalation of the count. He began hearing the counting after a late shift commute from the financial district, and by the number 4, he admitted he was in a state of extreme panic. But unlike most other cases, which focused solely on avoidance and hoping it would end, Ground Level tried something completely different. He decided to react. In a post sent at 3 a.m., he wrote, "I did something foolish. Instead of keeping pace, I sprinted full speed. No rhythm, just complete chaos. I ran as fast as I could toward Elm Street without caring where I was going. The footsteps behind me stumbled, the voice stopped, and when I walked back the next night, it returned to 1. I think I broke it." His post immediately drew attention. Dozens of commenters rushed in for details. Was this a loophole in whatever was following them? Could the count be reset simply by running away? For a short time, Ground Level's updates gave hope to the small community of those following the legend. The second night after running, it worked. It reset to 1. If I keep doing this, maybe I can delay it forever. Feels like I just won a battle. But about a week later, his tone shifted in a terrifying way. It's different now. Even though it reset to 1, the sound isn't the same. Louder, closer. I feel it breathing heavier, and the footsteps no longer stumble when I run. They keep perfect pace. After the first reset, escalation became apparent. The counting man's voice became increasingly distorted, lower and deeper each night. The footsteps grew heavier like boots striking concrete, even when Ground Level was inside his apartment in Oakwood Heights. The next reset brought him back to 1 again, but with an unforeseen consequence. It's right behind me all the time now, not just at night. In the grocery store, in the elevator, in the bathroom. I don't know how much longer I can endure this. Other users begged him to stop running, advising him to let the count progress naturally, rather than making it worse. But his posts continued, shorter, more panicked, and noticeably louder than before. The walls shake. My ears are bleeding. I can't reset it this time. His account went silent shortly afterward. Cross-checking his profile shows Ground Level had been an active user for years, regularly posting on other topics. After that final post, there were no comments, no logins, no activity at all. What is notable about Ground Level's case is the pattern he established. The reset did not save him. It only made things worse. The numbers could restart, but the intensity did not. It built layer upon layer. This suggests the counting man is not merely counting nights. He is tallying you, marking your presence and measuring his terror. Running does not break the rules. It is seen as a challenge, provoking the entity into increasing aggression. This case raises a grim question. Is it better to let the count run its natural course and face vanishing at 10, or to run and make what follows exponentially worse? The importance of consistency in the reports further underscores the non-cultural nature of the phenomenon. The counting man does not change or adapt when moving. Global nature of the phenomenon. Threads from Brazil describe O Contador, the counter, always in Portuguese, but always with the same description. Footsteps, male voice, steady escalation to 10. A Japanese forum in 2007 called him Kazayu Oto, the wind counter, with the same warning not to turn around. South African blogs mention Mantu Kabbalah, and posts from Eastern Europe repeat the same detail, a number whispered behind you each night. Difference from folklore. This is not how folklore usually works. Urban legends mutate as they travel. The American hitchhiker ghost becomes the slit-mouthed woman in Japan. Details change, shaped by local culture and language. But the counting man does not. Wherever he appears, the pattern remains. No local embellishment, no regional variation, just the same rule repeated with terrifying precision. This unchanging consistency suggests the phenomenon is not cultural at all. It does not spread like rumor or myth. It does not evolve. It replicates exactly. This leads to two disturbing possibilities. Every culture independently invents the same story with the same rule, the same outcome, which is nearly impossible. Or the counting man is not a story. He is a constant, something real enough to appear the same way to anyone, anywhere, regardless of language or culture. And if that is true, there is one final question worth asking. Why does this pattern seem to appear more frequently now? Understood. Here is your text rewritten exactly in English, with no additions or removals of meaning or sentences. It's tempting to think of the counting man as a creation of the digital age, a creepypasta born on forums and message boards, wrapped in the same ritualistic rules we've seen in hundreds of other urban legends. However, this pattern did not begin online. The earliest traceable reference appears in an Ohio newspaper from 1891. The article is old, faded, almost unreadable, preserved only through a university library's microfilm scan. It recounts how the Farmer Johnson family outside the small town of Kilikth complained about strange phantom footsteps circling their porch every night for 9 days. Neighbors dismissed it, chalking it up to wolves or trespassers. On the 10th night, the Johnson family disappeared. The deputy sheriff, who arrived the next morning, found the dinner table still set, plates half-eaten, bread torn mid-loaf. No signs of struggle, only silence and empty chairs. The official report concluded that the family had left abruptly, but there were no records of them appearing anywhere else. Going further back, the historical fragments grow stranger. In a sailor's journal from 1743, recovered from a shipwreck in the North Sea, one entry stands out. The sailor, listed as Captain Elias, wrote about a fear no storm or enemy could compare to. On the 7th night, he said 7, though none stood behind me. I was not permitted to turn. The crew begged me to do so. They did not hear it as I did. The journal ends there. The pages beyond are completely damaged by seawater. There is no mention of a storm, mutiny, or the wreck, only an abrupt stop, as if the account itself was not given the chance to continue. Other records exist scattered through various folklore collections. A Bavarian folktale about Der Zähler, the counter, who walks behind men on empty roads, and a letter from a 17th century missionary describing an invisible stepmatcher haunting converts at night. Could all of this be hoaxes? Folklore warped to fit a modern internet story? Possibly. Historical anomalies are easy to misinterpret, especially when a pattern has already been suggested. But the consistency is hard to ignore. The details do not mutate the way most legends do. The same progression appears again and again. Synchronized footsteps, a man's voice rising by one number each night, the escalation toward 10, different cultures, different languages, different centuries, yet the same rule set. Of course, these records cannot be verified. We cannot know if the Johnson family truly fled or if Captain Elias's journal was fabricated. However, the parallels are too precise to dismiss as coincidence. The counting man did not begin with the internet. He did not begin with whispered stories on message boards or chain emails. The implication is darker. The counting man predates the internet, predates cities, predates our own memory. He has always been behind us. If historical records show that the counting man is not bound to the internet era, modern reports show something even stranger. He is not bound to any single region. Threads from Brazil describe O Contador, always in Portuguese, always with the same structure, footsteps, a man's voice, a steady climb toward 10. A Japanese forum in 2007 calls him Kazayu Ato, the wind counter, with the same warning not to turn around. South African blogs refer to Mantu Kabbalah, and posts from Eastern Europe repeat the same detail. A number whispered behind you each night. Different languages, different continents, yet the same unchanged ritual. That is not how folklore works. By nature, urban legends mutate as they spread. The American hitchhiking ghost on Route 99 becomes the slit-mouthed woman in Japan. In Mexico, she becomes La Llorona. Details shift, shaped by culture and language. Endings change. The villain wears the local mask. Rules bend. That is how folklore survives. It adapts. The counting man does not. Wherever he appears, the pattern stays the same. No local embellishment, no regional variance. Only the same rules repeated with frightening precision. Footsteps that match yours. A voice counting one number each night. Don't turn around. Don't reach 10. This consistency suggests the phenomenon is not cultural at all. It does not spread like rumor or myth. It does not evolve. It replicates exactly. And if that is true, there is one final pattern worth mentioning, though it is easy to overlook when reading isolated accounts. In almost every case, the victim heard about the counting man before they heard the footsteps. Decard 42, a college student in 2009, admitted he read a silly email about the counting man before his first encounter. The night commuter's journal includes a line. I thought this was just another internet ghost story. Then I started hearing it. Even the so-called survivor who attempted to reset the rhythm, ground level, wrote in one of his earliest posts, "Maybe I shouldn't have read that thread. Maybe that's what started it." And this pattern is not limited to the internet age. The Farmer Johnson family in 1891. The article notes that neighbors joked about a local counting ghost before the footsteps began. Captain Elias's 1743 journal mentions a story told by Dark Hands the night before he first recorded the voice. It happens again and again. Awareness comes first, then the footsteps, then the counting. This suggests the counting man does not hunt randomly. He does not linger by roadsides waiting for strangers. He comes when you know the rules. In other words, knowledge is the trigger. This explains the consistency across centuries and cultures. The story does not mutate because it does not need to. Every version is identical because this is not folklore spreading. It is contagion. Each account is not a warning. It is a vector. The more details you read, the clearer the rules become in your mind. The clearer the rules become, the closer you are to hearing that first synchronized step behind your own. This changes everything we've reviewed. The vanished records, the broken journals, the posts stopping mid-thread. Perhaps they did not end because the victims disappeared. Perhaps they ended because by writing them, by passing on the rules, they ensured the cycle would continue in someone else. And perhaps that is why the stories always stop before 10. Not because they have nothing left to say, but because by the time you know enough to ask what happens next, the footsteps have already begun behind you. If you have more text to rewrite, just send it. The unchanging consistency in documents from around the world dispels all doubt. The Counting Man is not a legend. He is a constant, an entity operating independently of cultural adaptation. Whether in the financial district of the United States, a remote village in Bavaria, or on a ship in the North Sea, the rules remain coldly, absolutely the same. Synchronized footsteps, a counting voice rising by one each night, and the ultimate prohibition: do not turn around. This machine-like precision leads to an inescapable conclusion. The Counting Man is a portable and personal phenomenon. He is not bound by geography. The clearest evidence is how he followed Decard 42 from the streets into his dorm room at Eastwood University. He does not need a cursed forest or a haunted road. He only needs a person. Once the counting begins, you cannot escape by moving. He follows you through neighborhoods across state lines from Nevada to New York. Even Ground Level's chaotic attempt to flee only intensified the threat, making the counting and footsteps more tangible, more immediate, and more aggressive. He does not need to catch up. He only needs to maintain the rhythm. This deepens the cruel question raised by the night commuter's case. Which of two fates is worse? 1. Turning around. This is the immediate, definite end. Death or obliteration without waiting. Facing the entity in the final instant. Instant terror. 2. Reaching 10. This is disappearance without a trace. No blood, no signs of struggle, only silence and empty chairs as with the Johnson family in 1891. The horror of 10 lies in 9 nights of psychological torment. It is the torture of waiting, knowing that each step, each number echoing in your ears, draws you closer to a chasm with no one returning to explain. Perhaps complete disappearance at 10 is worse than death. At least death leaves a body, evidence. Disappearance at 10 erases everything, wiping your record from bus logs, from student files, dissolving you into nothingness. Yet the most important question is not what happens when the counting ends, but why he appears. And the answer lies in a detail overlooked in most documents: awareness. We have seen that. Decard 42 read about the mysterious counter first. The night commuter thought it was just another internet ghost story before hearing it. Captain Elias heard a story from Dark Hands before writing in his journal. This phenomenon does not hunt randomly. It is not a ghost bound to a location. The Counting Man comes only when you know the rules. This is a shocking revelation. Knowledge is the trigger. It explains why the story has persisted across centuries with such consistency. It does not mutate because it is not folklore spreading. It is contagion. Each document, each warning, each shared story is not an attempt at rescue. It is a vector. And this is the scariest aspect of our age. If the Counting Man has existed for centuries, why is there now a sudden surge of reports on Discord servers, forgotten blogs, and Reddit forums? Because the internet is a perfect contagion environment. The speed of information, the endless connectivity, and the ability to find any dark story all serve the Counting Man's purpose. In minutes, a story posted on the Moonlight Student Forum can be read by thousands worldwide. The speed of knowledge dissemination has multiplied, and thus the speed of triggering the phenomenon multiplies exponentially. Each document is not a warning, it is an act of infection. The more details you read, the more the rules are etched in your mind. Clearer the synchronized footsteps, the climb to 10, the prohibition against turning around. And perhaps that is why the stories always stop before 10. Perhaps they do not end because the victims disappeared. Perhaps they end because, by sharing these rules, by writing them down, the storyteller ensures the cycle continues with the next reader. This brings us back to the present moment. You who have read and understood, footsteps perfectly in sync, a voice counting one number each night. The absolute prohibition against turning around. You have accumulated enough knowledge. You know too much. You may feel a chill unrelated to ambient temperature. You may hear a faint sound, just enough to recognize it, right behind you. Because by the time you know enough to ask what happens next, the footsteps have likely already begun behind you. We have examined fragments spanning centuries, from a faded newspaper in Kilikth, Ohio in 1891, to Captain Elias's seawater-damaged journal in 1743, to the panicked threads of Decard 42 and ground level on modern forums. All of them paint a single unchanging picture of the counting man. We have come to understand clearly, he is a constant. This is not evolving folklore. It is an immutable phenomenon, unaffected by culture or time. He is personal. He does not haunt a location. He haunts a person, following them from Sterling Office Park to Oakwood Heights, needing neither darkness nor solitude. He is untouchable. Attempts to resist him, as ground level did, only increase the intensity. Delaying fate merely prolongs the torment. Now, the bare truth is revealed. The counting man is not a random predator. He is a psychic virus, and knowledge is his host. Every warning spoken, every line written about the rule of not turning around and the danger of 10 is not a lifeline. It is a new vector of infection. In this age of global connectivity, where every whispered story can be instantly amplified across servers and social networks, we have unwittingly created a perfect environment for the counting man to thrive. We have pulled him from the shadows of history into the light of our phone screens. If you are a storyteller or a listener, if you have absorbed the terror of perfectly synchronized footsteps and the steadily escalating count, you are now part of this process. You have performed the storyteller's final act, passing on the contagion. And as you sit here, feeling that cold shiver, a natural bodily response to fear, ask yourself, are you reacting to the story, or are you reacting to its beginning? There is nowhere to run. There is nowhere to hide. You can only listen. Are you ready to hear the number 1? This story may not be over yet. If you have a mystery, a fear, or a strange encounter, send it to Dark Whispers Audio. And don't forget to subscribe, because next time, it might be your story we whisper.